Okay, so let's move on to the Merseyside Derby on Wednesday night, the last ever one at Goodison, obviously rescheduled from earlier in the season when it got postponed because of the weather. I mean, it's a huge game. It's going to be a huge atmosphere. As you've mentioned, it's the start of a huge run as well. So let's just very quickly look ahead to that, because I think it's 5 Premier League games in the space of a fortnight coming up, followed by 1 Premier League game in the space of 5 weeks. It's a crazy schedule Liverpool have got coming up, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it is absolutely crucial. And I think I've seen a lot of fans put the Plymouth selection, contextualize that as, well, it's the derby coming up and it's absolutely massive, last one at Goodison. But I can pretty much guarantee that is not part of the manager's thinking. He isn't putting it all into the derby. It's about that run of 5 games in a fortnight, as you say, because that is absolutely crucial. I mean, there's a lot of tough fixtures in there for a starting point. I mean, Everton away is tough as it is. Villa away is very, very difficult. City away, they will want to do everything they can to kind of hurt Liverpool if possible. So, and then in between, Wolves, they're starting to find a bit of form, albeit that's at Anfield, and Newcastle at home. They are an excellent side. So that's really, really tricky as well. So it's a massive, massive run of games and a real drain on the squad. So I think that was what the Plymouth selection was all about, is keeping them fresh for this. And I think it's very much seen as, Arne Slot didn't want to kind of lean into this in his press conference today, but I think it's hard to look beyond this as basically a run where Liverpool can win the Premier League. I don't think they can lose it in this run, because I don't think the gap will shorten enough in terms of to give Arsenal that much encouragement that they've got it wrapped up themselves. But I think Liverpool could definitely win it. If they get kind of 13 plus points out of this run, it's over really, because Arsenal will not feel after that. If Liverpool win all 5, they'll be 12 ahead, having played a game more. That element of it is important as well. I think Liverpool have been quite aggressive in the schedule in that Villa game and pushing for that to be pulled forward rather than backwards. So that's a really interesting element of it. And it just feels like a run that, like I say, if they get 13 plus points out of it, I think Arsenal's hopes are basically withered at that point, because before they've got Bukayo Saka back, the points gap is just too large to overturn. They'll be running out of road massively. And actually Liverpool will have, I think, 11 games remaining after this run, and 4 of them will be away and 7 at home. That is, it's just hard to see, isn't it? If they do even less than 13, but do well in this run, how Arsenal can claw that lead back, particularly with the way Arsenal are playing. So it is absolutely humongous, even if Slot didn't want to admit that today.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, I wanted to touch on that point, because it is huge for Liverpool about what they can do, but arguably even bigger for Arsenal. It's make or break. Without them, obviously they need to maintain their form, but without them kicking the ball, it could be make or break for them, depending on what Liverpool go and do.
This is it. It's just out of their hands at the moment, and they know they need the slip-ups. They will all be watching the Merseyside Derby, I'm sure, on Wednesday, hoping for a favour from Everton, which Everton have obliged many times in recent years. I think, is it 7 out of the last 10 derbies at Goodison have ended in draws. So, you take that as the start of the run. Okay, some drop points, that'd be absolutely perfect. It gives Arsenal encouragement. The sides will then be level on games as well, so we'll get a more accurate picture of the table. And then, if they do drop points in that first one, again, it gives them confidence going into the Villa game and going into the City game, that more drop points await there. So it's a crucial run for Arsenal, as you say, because if they are to have any hope, all this talk of Liverpool have got tough fixtures coming up, it actually has to deliver, and the results have to be there. And recently we haven't really seen that. They've gone away to Brentford and won. They've gone away to Bournemouth and won. They got a decent point, I thought, against Nottingham Forest. So these tough games where they are supposed to drop points are really running out, and they basically all be done by the time we get the other side of this 5-game run. So yeah, it's a crucial period in the title race. If Arsenal can't win it in this run, but they are to be given any encouragement whatsoever, it will come in this run.
Yeah, and I think it's almost a good thing for Liverpool. Well, depends on how the run goes, but to compartmentalize things a bit like this, and okay, we can focus on the Premier League for the next couple of weeks, and then, because it's not like the big games stop, they just change competition. You got the Champions League and the League Cup final in March, whereas you've only got 1 Premier League game, and that's at home to Southampton, I think I'm right in saying. So yeah, you can sort of compartmentalize it. Okay, go and maybe win the Premier League title in these next 2 weeks, then we can go and try and win the League Cup and take a big step towards winning the Champions League as well.
Yeah, and you don't want to sound arrogant about these things, like oh well, they can just go and win the Premier League and then focus on the other trophies and work in that way. But it kind of, the fixture schedule, as you say, it lends itself to that. And I think if Liverpool winning the Premier League and the Champions League the same season is extremely difficult. But Liverpool look like the best team in Europe this season, so if they're ever going to have a chance, this is probably going to be it. And if they're going to do it, I think the best way to do it is to get that huge lead, if you can, in the Premier League, almost get it wrapped up early. And so in the latter stages of the Champions League, there's not too much riding on your league games. And that gives you a real chance to kind of rotate. Maybe Salah can miss a Premier League game. Maybe even Gravenberch and Van Dijk could miss the odd game. You can really manage your way through the season like that. That's how I think you've got to approach it. But it all rides on getting good results in these 5 games. So and that is a huge ask, because these games are tough enough as they are. So it's a difficult one, but the opportunity to put themselves in a really good position is there.
Yeah, and of course the run does start with that trip to Goodison Park. Liverpool's last trip across Stanley Park, 122nd visit, I think it is, to Goodison Park in total. I mean, the crowd is going to be up for it under the lights. Everton are going to be fired up for it. It's a game Liverpool really, first and foremost, need to match that intensity, isn't it? And then hope the quality that they've got over Everton takes them to the win.
Yeah, that's the bare minimum. I thought it was interesting as well, actually, that Arne Slot, he spoke about that in his press conference today, but he also mentioned the fact that he watched the derby back last year, and he said in the first 15 minutes or so, he felt like there were kind of 10 free kicks and Liverpool gave 9 of them away. So you've got to match them for intensity, but you've also got to be smart about it, because Everton will want to try and win the little free kicks. They'll want to get the crowd up. They'll want to put the ball in the box as frequently as possible, because that was a real route to success for them last season. So, we know how Everton are going to approach this. So it's about, matching that intensity, matching that physicality. It's something Slot speaks about a lot and has done this season. But you have got to be clever about how you do it. You don't want to play into Everton's hands at all. So that first 20 minutes or so, can you have some really sterile possession? And when you're out of possession, then that's when you do your work and you try and get there, but you don't give those cheap fouls away. So got to be really smart about how they do that. But that is the baseline for the performance, is matching the intensity.
Yeah, and it's an Everton side who are coming into it in better form than they would have had it been when it was initially scheduled. David Moyes has come in on 3 Premier League games on the bounce. Obviously lost to Bournemouth in the FA Cup at the weekend. That seems maybe the performance and the result there to have stunted their momentum. We'll only see in the Merseyside Derby, and of course a derby is going to, if anything, form goes out the window, to use a cliche there. But hopefully for Liverpool, that Bournemouth defeat does stunt a little bit of the momentum that they're built with that really good run of Premier League results they've been on.
Yeah, you would hope so. I mean, it's kind of caught between two stools of thought on this, really, in terms of, is it kind of, does it stunt their momentum, or is it, as you say, that form goes out the window? Because it may be a cliche, but it's so true regarding this fixture. It's ridiculous the amount of times over the recent years in particular that Liverpool have been the far better side and gone to Goodison and just haven't been able to show that they are. So it's kind of hard to know where to fall on that, really. And I suppose it is always helpful that they've had a little dent to the confidence against Bournemouth. So Liverpool will take something from that, and that can be helpful, particularly in that start to the game. If Liverpool start well and they do keep the ball, and you'll get that nervousness starts to seep into the crowd, but they've just struggled to do that down the years. They've given Everton encouragement in the first 10 minutes or so, and from there, that's set the tone, and that's been how the game's gone. So you've got to be really, really smart about how they do this, and hope that if you can have a good first 10, 15 minutes, the crowd, those nerves can't start to come then, and the crowd starts to maybe get on top of the Everton players a little bit in a negative way. Then if you do that, that's half the task then, and then you can play your football and show what your qualities are. So that's the job for them, really.
Yeah, so the appetizer for the Everton fans is to get that last win at Goodison Park. Liverpool could get their 100th win ever against Everton in all competitions, which would be a nice milestone to see off Goodison Park with. And I think they're tied up in the league at least 41 wins apiece at Goodison Park in Merseyside Derby. So it'd be nice to end the Goodison Park era with Liverpool having just won that one more win than Everton, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I doubt the players are thinking about that, but I very much know it'll be on the fans' mind that if Liverpool can leave Goodison Park with a winning record there, that will be in the history books forever, won't we? So that's a real carrot and something that adds a little bit of extra spice to it. And I think from Liverpool's perspective as well, maybe there's the thinking that, okay, they got their win last year, and that doesn't happen very frequently. So can this year be the one where Liverpool sign it off with a victory? Certainly hope so, because it just has so much significance, doesn't it? That winning record at Goodison Park. But primarily, I think every Liverpool supporter wants the 3 points to go 9 points clear in the Premier League as well. So that's the real main aim, and it's just, I love the phrase that Arne Slot used today in talking about it. He said, he thinks that record thing will add a little bit of spice to the atmosphere, the fact it's the last Goodison Derby, but he wanted cool minds but not cool legs. So he wants Liverpool to be very smart about how they play the game, but he wants that intensity in the way that they run around. So that is the balance they're looking to strike, and I like that phrase he used.
Yeah, he also gave an update on Trent Alexander-Arnold's fitness, didn't he? Are we expecting him? I know he's back in partial training. The hope is back in full training today. But as we've spoken about many times before, they're quite reluctant to throw someone straight back in. I know he hasn't been out for long, but it is a muscle injury. It's going to be an intense game. Do you see Trent starting, or can you see him being held back for this one?
Yeah, I'd be really surprised if he starts, to be honest. As you say, very cautious with the muscle injuries. It's just not one of those where you take the risk. And I actually think that might work in Liverpool's favour a little bit. I think, Njai down that left-hand side is a real threat, and someone who's good in one-on-one duels like Conor Bradley could really set you up in the game. And if it's going to be about kind of winning that battle over the first 60 minutes and then starting to play football, then it's nothing better than a substitution like that. Conor Bradley to do the job in the first hour or so, and then bring on Trent Alexander-Arnold to help try and win the game. I think that could set it up perfectly. And I think with him having done parts of training yesterday, the hope is full training today. If he does get through that, I think that'll set him up to be on the bench and be that sub that comes on to try and help Liverpool win the game. But obviously the perfect situation for Slot would be to have him on the bench and not have to use him at all, because Liverpool are cruising. But we'll see how that one plays out.
Yeah, I thought that when Trent initially got injured, Conor Bradley, you want him in the Merseyside Derby, really. He's got that intensity. He's one player you can guarantee will not shirk away from the challenge and will match the intensity and atmosphere in the stadium. So, yeah, I don't think there'll be any worries or concerns from Liverpool fans if he is in the starting 11 ahead of Trent on Wednesday night. Finally, seeing as it will be the last trip to Goodison for you, what are your favourite memories from there?
Yeah, I've got a lot of good memories. Not always covering Liverpool games there, to be honest, because obviously being a reporter on Merseyside, the first game I ever reported on actually was at Goodison Park, and I've done a lot of Everton down the years. And it is, I know the divides there, and all fans kind of get on each other's backs, but it is a great club with great people who work there as well. And I do have a real soft spot for them, to be honest, outside of these games, I suppose. So yeah, I will really miss Goodison Park. It's kind of significant to me, like I said, and it's just an amazing ground as well, because I think we're losing a lot of these stadiums now, aren't we? I think back to having been to Upton Park years ago, Filbert Street, Highbury, you name any club in the Premier League, they're mostly starting to leave these grounds, and Goodison is the kind of last stand in terms of one of those that ability to generate that special atmosphere. It is so loud. It will be so loud on Wednesday as well. So I really will kind of miss the place, but I also understand that they need to make that move, and it is important. That new stadium looks absolutely fantastic as well, but it is a real shame to kind of break with the past, and it will be a shame as well not to have the derby, the iconic shot over Stanley Park with the two grounds so close to each other. That is magic and a great part of Merseyside football. So yeah, I will really miss it. Although I won't miss the press box, because it is tiny and cramped and a nightmare. If I was any taller, it'd be a real issue. But it's I won't miss that element of it. But I will miss Goodison Park, certainly.